Here we go. We're going live.
Pond Boss, tell me what to do.
That music.
To make all
Pond Boss
my
magazine right there.
lake dreams come true.
It's kind of funny, isn't it?
I like it. I like it.
Hello, everybody. Bob Lusk, the Pond Boss. Hey, I've missed hanging out with you guys. We're having a big time. I'm hanging out with my good friend Wade Bales. Hey, Wade.
Howdy.
What's
Howdy.
going on, man?
Hanging with you.
Yeah, we're having a big time.
The Pondmeister.
The Pondmeister, the Pond Boss. You're the Pondmeister.
Okay.
Good gosh, here we are in Memphis, Tennessee. There's Jacob West. Look at that. Jacob West. Jason Nebstad, he got beat tonight. He's usually first one up, but Jacob West got him. But Jason Nebstad, he knows it, or so does Jacob West. You know, hashtag Pond Boss Magazine, right there in the comment section. Jeff Patterson's checking in from Whitesboro, Texas. Hey, Tory Rhodes, where are you? I thought you were here. 35 bucks a year. Hashtag Pond Boss Magazine in the comments section. Click like, or is it this way? Click like, and share this to your timeline right now so we can get a bigger audience. My gosh, we're hanging out in Memphis, Tennessee, home of the blues, and they got a big blues festival.
Big festival. There's people everywhere. Everybody's got a guitar.
And I can't believe we're in here doing this.
I know.
It's a big deal, though, isn't it?
It is. It is.
And we're at the Society of Lake Management Professionals Summit. Heavy on the word summit.
Not a conference. It's
Not a
summit.
conference.
It's the
Not a
top
meeting.
of the top.
That's it. That's right. So what's going on here? Tell everybody a little bit. What's your role with SLMP?
Yeah.
What's going on here? Wade. Oh, by the way, Wade Bales, Quality Lakes, Bluffton, South Cackalack, the premier pond management company in South Carolina and along the eastern seaboard. He does a lot of work on some nice ponds and lakes, everything from half an acre up to how big?
Oh, a couple 100 acres. Yeah.
So if you want to grow big fish and you live in the southeast, here's your guy.
We got him. We got him.
Yes, sir. So tell everybody about what's going on here, Wade.
Yeah, so we are at the Society of Lake Management Professionals Annual Summit, and this is a group that came originally basically out of Pond Boss conference that you put together. And this is a group of professional private lake management companies from around the country. And we've been working on this organization since 2013.
Wow.
So,
Yep.
this is our fourth one. We packed out the hotel this year, 100 plus attendees.
That's excellent.
And, just a great time and the best agenda we've had. So,
Wow. Wow, look at there. Do you know Scott Lindsay from Lawrence, South Carolina?
Scott Lindsay, I think I know you.
Scott, if you don't know him, you need to.
You need to check us out.
Yes. John Funk, Richard Dagas. Holy cow. We already said hello to Tory Woods, Nick Foster. Good gosh. John Funk says, I do not see snow or ice where you are. Lucky you. Well, dude, you chose to live in Michigan. Leanne's checking in. Troy Todd, good to see all you guys. I'm so excited to have Wade as my guest tonight because Wade is doing something that's pretty cool that you guys are going to want to know about. We're going to talk about that in a minute. So there's a little tease, so hang in there because you're going to want to hear this. It's really, really going to be, it's something you can use. It's a good, practical thing. I've had several people say, man, I had that idea, but so what? He's done it. So we're going to talk about his app here in just a minute that you guys can use. But, you know, one of the things, Wade, that's fascinated me about this conference is, of course, this is for lake management professionals, but there's a few private pond owners that have come. Chris Chavette is one of them.
Yep.
But the thing that's fascinating to me in my 40th year in the pond management business, I remember when it wasn't an industry. And now things are happening rapid fire.
And it's been quick. You know,
Yeah.
when you went through your timeline in your keynote, you were talking like 80s. Well, that wasn't that long ago.
I know.
That's
I know.
about the time I was like, there is a such thing as an electric fishing boat. Well,
Like-
I'm all over that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's happened really fast.
And so some of the speeches in the last day and a half or so that we've been here, last 2 days, I guess, everything from some scientific analysis of algae colonies, which, you know, that sounds kind of geeky and kind of nerdy, but there's good algae and there's bad algae. So when we can figure out what we like and manage for that, which in the past we've not been able to do,
Right.
but now we're getting closer to being able to do things like that.
Yeah, and just being able to tell what's the good and what's the bad.
Yep.
And now they're making making strides and teaching us how to treat specific species.
That's exactly right.
So,
And you know what? Another thing is shoot, 15 years ago, 18 years ago, aeration was kind of a new thing, and now it's so competitive that those different companies have got to figure out not only how to have the best equipment, but the best strategies to use to aerate ponds.
design is important.
Yes.
You know, the efficiency of the airheads, the lift, all these physics-related stuff that I have no idea about.
Yeah.
You know, but it's the technology just keeps getting better and better.
And it's rolling fast. That's what's exciting to me is,
Yeah.
is you know, it's fun to have been involved in the genesis of an industry and now watch it because, you know, the growth curve has been painfully slow, but now here it is, and it is on a major upswing.
It's rocking pretty good.
It really is. Let's talk a little bit about your business. Let's talk about where you are. Why don't you kind of catch everybody up on who you are, what you do, what kind of businesses you run, and then we'll get into your app and talk about that just a little bit.
Yeah, so we are based in South Carolina on the coast. Our service level, I went full-time in my business in 2007.
Okay.
And we pretty much do anything related to freshwater. We have a large component of our business is what I call lake maintenance. We do a lot of aquatic weed control, a lot of algae control. We do bathymetric mapping, sediment assessments for like pre and post dredging type situations. And then we have the fish management side, which is what I'm passionate about.
That's the most fun, isn't it?
That's the most fun. And so we do fish work wherever people call us.
All right. So when you've got a fisheries customer, what's your typical customer like? Somebody calls you and they say, "Hey man, I just found out about you and I want you to come help us do what with fish?"
Yeah, most of the time, great question. Most of the time, it is someone who owns a pond that's probably 2 to 5 acres, and it's been looked at and not really managed.
Okay.
And so it's typically my kids or my grandkids, or they catch some fish, but they just really aren't what we want them to catch.
Okay.
So
All
that's
right.
typically.
So they've gone to the University of Google
That's right.
and found you. You know, I know everybody heard that I didn't do my broadcast last week because I had rotator cuff surgery. Well, I can tell you a couple stories so we can get that out of the way real quick, and then we'll circle back on to the gist of this conversation. But ended up having surgery a week ago Monday. Went in at 5 o'clock in the morning, checked into the hospital, pre-registered and everything. And as I walked through the door up to the registration desk, I heard this voice, "Bob Lusk." And I looked over and said, "Holy cow, there's Stan Graff, one of my good friends and longtime customers." I said, "What are you doing here?" He said, "Well, I got to get rotator cuff surgery." I said, "You're kidding, I do too." He said, "Is Dr. Christian doing yours?" I said, "Yeah." "Is he doing yours?" He says, "Yeah." I said, "Good gosh, what a coincidence." "So what'd you do to your shoulder?" He said, "Well, my son and I, we were hunting in the Yukon last summer," and he said, "We were horseback and went down in a canyon and went trying to go across the stream, and my horse hesitated a little bit, and I went over and landed on a boulder." He said, "What'd you do to yours?" And I said, "I got to edit my story just a little bit." I didn't want to tell him that I had bone spurs and over a long period of time at my age that sawed back and forth with poor posture and leaving my elbow on my truck window driving 70,000 miles a year, and it cut through it. I didn't want to tell him that, but that's the deal. We've had several people ask, so there's the story. So here we are hanging out, and Elmo Liner, Big Jim Liner, manages the lakes where Ray Scott developed his fishery. Say hello to Elvis. Hello, Elvis, but hello more to Wade. Wade, tell us a little bit. There's Brad Rom saying hello. Hey, Brad. Todd Austin checking in. Daniel Hendrick. Fred Bingaman. Hey, Fred, good to see you, buddy. Mike Cottrell checking in. Oh, before we get going any further, if you'll do the hashtag PondBoss Magazine, hashtag PondBoss Magazine, and click like, and share this to your timeline, this video, share it right now so we can build a bigger audience, you will be eligible for a drawing for a PondBoss hat and a mug. And last time, I guess 3 weeks ago, Dan Drollop is our winner. Dan, now I know you're going to be watching at some point. It'll be later on probably. Email us your address because we don't have you. You're not a subscriber, so we don't have you in our database. If you'll email us your address, we'll send you a hat and a mug. Email it to info@pondboss.com. There's Mike Augustine checking in. Bill Russell checking in. Good to see you feeling better. I feel pretty good, buddy. Thank you. And Jose Latorre checking in from southern Florida. We got people checking in from all over the nation.
Nice. Down there where it's warm.
Yeah, he's not wearing a jacket tonight, is he?
No.
Tell us about your app. You've invented it. You've gone to great extent to do some really cool things. So tell us a little bit about what you've done, Wade.
Well, as you know, Bob, a vital component of pond management is harvest. And if you're using your bass bluegill typical scenario, bass is a huge part of what we do and what we recommend. And over the years, that has just been a stumbling block in getting folks to harvest fish. And after having some folks that we work with in some pretty intensively managed lakes harvest stuff that they shouldn't be harvesting, you know, that we're working toward a goal, I just had this idea. I was like, well, why can't we just fix this harvest problem that everybody seems to be having?
Okay, so for all of our listeners and viewers out there, let's quantify what a harvest problem is. What is that?
Yep. So by harvest, I'm referring to typically in our part of the country, well, and other places too, too many bass, a bass crowded situation.
Which is pretty normal.
Which is very normal.
Yep.
Yeah, I threw my stat up. I think like 98% of the unmanaged lakes that we survey are bass crowded.
I'd say the same thing with the ones we manage.
You know, everyone catch and release. You know,
catch and release.
So, you know, and have promoted heavily based on the concept of balance. There's got to be a portion of that population taken out each year.
Yep.
You got to take the biomass out.
Okay. So everybody out there, when you've got a bass fishing pond, Kelly Duffy from Helena.
Hey, Kelly.
Kelly, good to see you, buddy. We're missing you here. Nick Foster, how's the weather there in Memphis? It's kind of cold, but it's pleasant. Had a little rain today, but it's not so bad. It's not like what John Funk's dealing with. Okay, so now we know that the majority of the lakes that we manage starting off are typically bass crowded. And, you know, Wade says 98%. I think he's right there. That might even be conservative. So at some point, people have got to catch some bass. Now, Jason Nepstead says we're the opposite, not enough bass. He's right. Now, he's in Fayetteville, North Carolina, at about 125-acre homeowners lake that's got quite a bit of sedimentation, but it's packed full of carp. So they don't have any recruitment. Their bluegill are about that long and sexually mature. So, Jason, you're an exception. Yeah. You're part of that 1%.
That's that 1 to 2%.
That isn't normal. So what Wade has started thinking about was, okay, so we have all these ponds across the nation where the bass are just overcrowded, and what can we do to help convince people that they need to take some fish? Like out of a 125-acre typical lake, they'd have to harvest 3,000 bass a year. That's work. You know, a 30-acre lake, 800 bass a year. That's work. You know, so now we're trying to convince people that they need to harvest more fish, and Wade sees that as a significant problem in managing ponds and lakes, right?
I do. And there's a second part of that.
Okay.
And that is not just harvesting fish, but harvesting the correct fish.
Okay, listen to that. Guys, listen to what he just said. You got to harvest fish, but you got to harvest the right fish. There's Kerry Martin checking in. Kerry?
Hey, Kerry.
Hey, man, your name has been taken, not in vain, but people missing you here, buddy, wishing you were here hanging out with us. So this may be the most significant statement of this show tonight is harvest is key, but being selective and picky about the fish you take out, that's probably the most important part. So tell people what you mean by that.
Well, we've handled thousands and thousands of bass, plotted lots of data, and almost all the time, there's always some top performers in a population, even if you've got too many bass.
I see the same thing.
There's always these handful of fish that are 90, 100 plus relative weights, and they're super dense, there's no prey there, but somehow they're like the cream of the crop. And so we know that genetics and performance is something we want to keep in our pond. Certain fish perform better than others. And so if we just go in there with a blanket harvest plan with no qualifications, well, what's probably going to happen if you got a 12-inch fish in there who's got a relative weight over 100? Who's probably going to bite first?
That one.
Probably that one.
You bet.
And so if you just have a blanket harvest plan based maybe on length, then there's a very high likelihood you're going to pull your top performers out of your pond.
Not only your top performers, but your most aggressive fish.
Yep.
Kerry Martin, sick with the crud. Hey, don't breathe on this dadgum computer. Back up, dude. We don't want to catch it.
Yeah, we don't want the crud.
No crud today. So what you're saying then, Wade, is that pond owners that have bass fishing lakes especially need to be picky and be selective about which fish. So kind of the general rule has been you pick a slot, say 14-inch bass and under, take them out. But what you're saying is not quite that way.
Yeah, our stance is you run the risk of removing some very important fish from your pond. And so how do we fix that? Well, all of us in the profession use a metric called relative weight, and you've talked about it in Pond Boss a ton. I think everybody knows what that is, but we all use it, and we do a lot of harvest for clients, okay, with our electric fishing boats. And that's what we use when we're in the field. We don't just take 12 and under or 14 and under. We know what the population is, what the status is, and so we have a target relative weight that we want out of there. So, and typically those are going to be what we call the slackers or the underperformers who aren't packing on the weight regardless of the situation. So, if we've got this qualifying metric we want to use, how do we get that into the hands of the anglers?
Okay.
And that's where the app comes in.
Hey, let's talk about the app.
All right, so what the app does, it's a simple tool that allows you to plug in a length and a weight while you're fishing. It automatically calculates the relative weight of that fish and gives you the option. There are some options with the app to have it automatically log that data into a database for you. In addition to, and this is important, in addition to the relative weight metric, you also indicate whether you harvest or release the fish.
Oh, okay.
So we got to know as managers and as lake owners, how many pounds are we taking out of there each year? You're probably like me. You give your clients a target.
Yes,
you got to take a certain number of pounds out per year. Well, how many of us actually keep track of that?
Not many of them. Not many of them at all.
I mean, just you're in the boat. What are you going to write it down? What are you going to do with that? You're going to put it in your notes in your phone, and then you forget about it.
Yep.
So.
Yep. Yes. Or what we try to do is have our clients send it to us.
Yeah.
But when they do, it's 6 months worth at a time, and there's usually something missing, like the date.
The date, or
right, or they didn't use the same scales, or the weights aren't right, or something like that. Okay, so you and your team have created this app to where, I guess, to download the app is free.
Yep. You can download the app for free, and you can use the relative weight calculation function for free. Okay, so right there, if you're in the boat or on the bank, plug it in, gives you one, and you can make the decision whether to harvest or release it.
Okay.
And then there are a couple subscription options. So if we're storing data, we got to charge you a little bit for that. And so what that does is when you start your fishing, you log in. Okay, that takes you live with the app, and then whatever data you enter is automatically downloaded into a database for you to go back into through our website when you get home. And you can download that data and send it to your manager, such as you or I.
Yep.
Or you have the option in there with the subscription service to automatically share it with your lake management company. So whoever your professional is where you are that you're working with, you type their name in there. They'll be partners with us, and your data is automatically shared.
What's the name of the app?
The app is Smartfish, and it's available now on Google Play, and we will have the Apple version up on the App Store by March 1st.
Okay, so you can download it on an Android now, but it'll be ready on Apple devices by March 1st. Okay, so go find Smartfish when you get to it and download it. Now, Wade gave a talk today, and he's going to start off primarily marketing to guys like us, lake management companies, so we can share that with our customers. I want to be the first one in line to do that. So what I want to be able to do is to tell my customers, like Stan after his shoulder heals, that with leaks and weights, he needs to be plugging those in, and now how it can help you in the field as a pond owner when you're fishing. If you catch a 12-inch bass and you weigh it, and it weighs 10 ounces, you can plug that in and see that your relative weight's 84%. Then you can decide whether or not to take the fish out. Bruce Condello just asked a question. He says, do the slackers or the underperformers necessarily stay that way for life?
We don't let them stay there long enough.
Actually, the answer is no, they don't, because their life ends that day. Because here's the thing about slackers and underperformers is when you have a fish that is underweight, odds are high that, look at that, there's a carriage behind us. How cool is that? There's a backdrop. Hey, downtown Memphis, folks. There it is, happening right behind us. We're going to go play there after a while. But when you catch a fish that's underweight, it lost weight. That means that fish at some point weighed more than that. So the underperformers need to come out. Now what I'm hearing you say, Wade, is the fish that are really thriving and their relative weights are high, you want to keep those fish in there because those fish have figured out how to play the game.
They have adapted to the situation, and
Yeah.
they are performers.
Yeah.
Typically, with these slackers, we see these a lot in overcrowded bass ponds.
Yep.
Okay, and we have spent a ton of effort in management steps for folks who don't want to start over.
Right.
They don't want to renovate, they don't want to poison or drain and restock. It is very difficult to turn those populations around.
That's exactly right. Because once they start losing weight, even though if they gain that weight back, which they can, they have pretty much lost their top end potential.
Yep, they exert so much energy surviving.
That's right.
I don't care how much food you put in front of them, they typically don't respond.
Yes, and even if they do, they don't gain that much weight back. And here's the thing, those underperformers or those slackers are sharing the same space and the same food chain as that top 30% that relative weights maybe 100 to 115 to 130 that have really learned how to play the game in your pond and that have learned how to eat and that have fit into that niche and that they're really thriving. So basically what Wade's saying is we want to preserve the very best of the best and give them the best chance. And by taking out some of those slackers, we're taking away competition and keeping them out of that food chain and just, making tacos out of them. Right?
That's right. And it doesn't matter what their length is, and it's hard for a lot of people to take a 4-pound fish out.
Yes.
Well, more than likely, that's an 18-inch male who's never going to get any bigger.
That's
anyway.
right.
You can throw him back 3 or 4 or 5 years in a row.
Yep.
And you tag him, I guarantee you're going to pick him up again. He's not going to be any bigger.
There you go.
So when you're using relative weight, you're going to be catching and harvesting a lot of males.
Yes.
In most cases.
Yes. Which, by the way, when you do it that way, you get to skew your ratios where you have more females, which get bigger.
That's right.
Chuck Brinkman says to tell us hello. Chuck's he was on my show a few months ago. He's in central and eastern Missouri. Dick Tabbert's checking in. Pat Williamson. What about larger bass that's very underweight? What about that?
He's got to go. He's not cutting it.
Yep.
Or she's not cutting it.
Now, here's the only qualifier with that is this time of year, if you catch a great big bass that's 22 inches long and weighs 6.5 pounds, that's a big female that's getting ready to spawn. But if you tag and catch that fish again in May and it's lost 1.75 pounds, are you going to pitch it? So there's a range of relative weights that you, as your own pond manager, you get to choose whether that fish stays or goes. And pre-spawn, post-spawn, and the season, that makes a difference on how you make your decisions.
Absolutely.
Okay.
The season's is gonna change a few things.
And so with your app, though, people can track their own data over a long period of time. All right, so the app Smart Fish, folks, is where you can go on, you can log in the name of your lake, and you can put in your links and weights of fish as you catch them. Do they need to put the date in, or is that automatic?
No, date and time is automatically logged, and if you're fishing, if you have multiple ponds on your property, or you have a large lake, our phones aren't real terribly accurate, but when you log in, you can choose for it to collect your GPS location.
Oh
so
my.
That's pretty cool. So if you're doing habitat installations and on a larger body, and you want to try to pinpoint where your fish are actually biting and where you're catching them, there you go. You know, there's an opportunity there.
Science is advancing, folks. So the big picture for you as a pond owner is that you can download this app. It's free, but if you want to subscribe to store your data for any period of time, it's much less than $500 a month. Oh wait, I didn't say that. Tell people a little bit about how the app works with the data storage and what it costs.
Okay, so at this point in time, the data will be saved on a server. So you'll have to log in, and this is common with pretty much all apps that have this type of application and data saving function. So your data will be saved for at least right now up to a year. You know, so we're going to try to work that on a calendar year. To test drive the app, the data saving function, well, here's the first thing. You can download it for free if you take the next step and just go in and register on the website. Then for 30 days you can test drive it. So it'll log all your data, you can go in and look at it, you can download it, you can play with it, you can do whatever you want. And at 30 days, if you want to continue that service, then you would subscribe. So you have two options for subscription. One is a test drive, and that's a 3-month, 90-day subscription is $30. And if you just want to cover the entire year, subscribe for a year, it's $65. So
$65
for
folks.
a couple bags of fish food, you've got the tool in your hand to log all your data in and keep it there and share it with whoever you're working with.
Okay, and then so you're going to sell this mailing list to everybody on the planet, right?
Absolutely. That's what I'm doing.
No, here's the deal. This is one of my favorite parts about this is this app, and Wade Bales, I'm going to tell you folks, is he sees the big picture. He has a business. He wants to, get paid and be able to feed the kids and buy shoes and all that. But he's not in it to go try to build something that's going to come back and bite you. He's built this app so that guys like me, folks like you, can keep good, accurate data and then look at it anytime you want to and then make good decisions from it. So he's not going to share this information with anybody. Now, I see Jacob West saying, hey, can the info from the app be sent to your pond specialist like Bob Lusk?
Absolutely. When you register, you can actually type in, there's an option there to share your data with your lake company or your lake manager.
There you go.
You just type their name in.
But they don't have to do that if they don't want to.
You don't have to.
Yeah.
You can change that at any time.
That's good stuff. That's good. Good question, Jacob. Scott Lindsay says, this is my third year after the initial stocking of largemouth bass. Is this the harvest starting year, or is after the third year or into the fourth year? This app sounds great. Waiting for the Apple version. When the Apple version is coming, tackle his question.
Start.
Okay, so in other words, so the question is, should you start harvesting? When you start plugging in some links and weights, the fish will tell you when it's time to start harvesting. And what you're going to see that's really fun is you're going to see a percentage of your fish that are excelling in your environment. And you'll see that because you'll see the relative weights of 100, 200, 300, 100, 105, 110, 130. Those are the fish you want to preserve. But when you're plugging these numbers in and you see these relative weights, now, you know what? Let's explain. What is relative weight?
Yeah, that's a great question. So you've written about it a ton, and it's really our keynote metric that we use. So relative weight is a metric, and what that is just an equation that compares the observed fish weight at a given length to a standard weight for a fish of that length by species, obviously. So if a 12-inch bass observed weight is equal to its standard weight, then the relative weight would be 100. So the fish weighs 100% of what it should at that length. So that's what a relative weight is.
So here's a hint a 14-inch, a 10-inch bass should weigh 10 ounces. Okay, I see you writing that down. 12-inch bass, 12 ounces. 14-inch bass should weigh 1 pound, 7 ounces. I'm going to wait and let you write that down some more, or you can rewind and do this later. 16-inch bass is 2 1/4. 18-inch bass is 3 1/4 pounds. Those are the standard weights for the lengths of that species, of fish, for largemouth bass. So now, relative weight is what is standard for that size class of bass, but normal varies within about 5% to 8% either side of that curve. So if you've got a bass that's 14 inches long and you weigh it, and it weighs 1 pound, 5 ounces, its relative weight will be about 95, but that's normal. That doesn't mean you need to cull that fish, it's depending on the time of the year. If that's a pre-spawn female or a fish that had early in the spawning season, you may want to take it out. If that's a fish 3 weeks after spawn and it's got a little belly on it, leave it. You know, so relative weight is the standard in the industry that we go by so we can make decisions on which fish to harvest. Now, what SmartFish app will help you do is track your fish, and over time, a few months, you can start to see some trends. And the trends you're going to see, to get back into Scott Lindsay's question, Scott, what you'll see is you're going to see your growth curve like so. And at some point, your growth curve is going to level off, then it's going to begin to decline for certain sizes of the fish. So you're probably going to see 10 to 14-inch bass begin to lose weight. And if they're originally stocked fish, they're underperformers. Odds are they're going to be offspring of the fish that you stocked originally. That's the class of fish that we typically start to need to harvest. But what the app's going to do is make your decision a whole lot easier. If you catch a bass, you weigh it and measure it, automatically on the app, it's going to spit out what the relative weight is on your phone right there.
Yep.
And then when you see that your relative weight's 78,
Probably time to go.
I'm not even sure if they can get enough fillet to make a fish taco off of that.
That's one of those newspaper fish. Right?
Yeah, you can read right through it, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so how long have you been working on this app?
The idea hit me this summer, and so I really want to talk to you and a couple other peers I have in the business that I respect and trust, and I've learned a lot from you over the years. And you guys said, "Well, that sounds like a pretty good idea." So I knew this conference was coming up, and since we only meet once per year, I wanted to roll it out to other professionals, and so we put it together in a few months.
So your primary marketing aim right now is to try to tackle other lake management companies, pond management guys?
Our goal is for other companies to use it as a tool for themselves or for their clients, but to promote it to their clients. A lot of us already use relative weight.
Every day.
And so this just puts that tool right into the lake owner's hands. And but we wanted to roll it out here first. And I'm going with you to the Southern Division AFS meeting down in Houston or Galveston, where we're having a small impoundments symposium. And at that symposium will be a lot of state guys. I used to work for DNR. A lot of states still do disseminate information to pond owners. A lot of states still do pond checks.
Yep.
So that's the beginning of the public marketing part of what we're doing. And then in March, our primary avenue is going to be YouTube. We like making videos, and so we'll be doing that.
Okay. So when the videos show up, what are they going to be?
Well, we're going to focus. Really, we're going to take the app from point A to point Z, and just how to use it, how to measure fish, what type of scales to use.
Okay.
Some of the basics. I've used it fishing already. It's not very cumbersome for me, but I was thinking on the flight over here, well, what if you're fishing from the bank, and you're not in a boat? So there's some little logistics things we're going to do. Yeah. This adds another step. You're not just measuring it. Now you're measuring it and weighing it.
Yep.
And so that's pretty much what we're going to focus on.
Yep.
And then hopefully as anglers use it and pond owners use it, we want to hear your stories, testimonials, and put that out there. And we're also going to promote the companies that are working with us.
Oh, very cool. Okay, so even though you're not going to share the information, you're going to be tracking it and see who's participating and kind of give them a pat on the back from time to time.
Absolutely. You know, we want to recognize our partners. Smartfish for us is a separate company. You're not going to see Quality Lakes logos or you're wearing our uniforms while we're doing Smartfish stuff. We want this to be a tool that everyone uses and understands it. We want everyone to use this, and we're not trying to make this part of our lake company.
Cool. Frank James is checking in from Houghton, Louisiana near Shreveport. Sean McNew is checking in. Hey, fellas, heavy duty pond talk. Yep, this is pretty heavy duty, buddy.
Shad man.
The Shad guy, Sean McNew. Hope the summit's going well. It's really going well. You know, we were talking about you not being here, and we couldn't quite figure out why that happened, but yeah, I guess you get a pass.
This is the last pass for you, Sean.
You better show up, brother. And you're on the opposite side of the state. Well, Tennessee's a big, long state, so you're pretty good hike away from here. So now, as you get ready to launch it and people are starting to participate, let's set some goals. By March the 1st, how many people would you like to have download your app? Let's make it reasonable. And you guys, everybody that watches this video, let's help rise to the occasion, because I'm going to tell you, this is my 40th year as a pond management guy. I'm as excited about what he's doing as anything that I've seen in the past, other than the invention of the electrofishing boat, and I'm glad I didn't get electrocuted when I built one. You know, so let's set some goals. How many do we want by, since we're waiting on Apple, on the Apple part, let's go to March 15th. How many do we want?
You know what? I would be grateful if we had 100 folks using this thing.
Okay.
That would give us some great feedback. You know, we've got obviously email and Facebook and private messaging, so we want folks' feedback on what works or what can we change to make it easier to use. Okay,
so, hey, Pond Boss Faithful, let's be the first 100. Now, he's going to go to the American Fisheries Society meeting this weekend. I'm going to be there too. I'm going to give a keynote about the history of pond management, and Wade's going to be talking about the app. So let's be some of the first ones to download it. Nick Foster says he's going to download it the day it's available for Apple, which will be before March 1st. Now I'm telling you, it's going to be a good practical tool that we can all use. But the good thing, there's so many good things. Another really good thing is when we start putting in data, that's going to help Wade decide how to tweak it and how to adjust it and how to make it even more functional for all of us as pond managers. So that's a good thing. There's Bob Wusher checking in. Speaking of Bob Wusher, Bob's worked for Purina since he was a puppy. And, you know, he's one of the best sales guys out there. And I deeply appreciate Purina Mills because they help sponsor this show, as does Texas Hunter.
Absolutely.
And we're glad that they're on board. Barry Mounts there's a commitment. We got our first 2 people from the public right there.
Everybody's wanting Apple, so we'll get it out as quickly as we can.
Yeah, everybody, I've got an Apple. I'll download it as soon as you have Apple. Okay. That's what we'll do. Okay, let's, Bill Russell says he's looking forward to the Apple launch. That's a good thing. So let's kind of switch directions just a little bit. Let's kind of go back and talk a little bit about your company, your business, and see if we get some more questions. Let's see. Scott Lindsay says, I knew I recognized your name, Wade. SCDNR. My son is a game warden in Bamberg County.
All right.
Look at there.
I'm in Jasper County. I live there now.
Holy cow. See? It's kind of a small world. Jim Schuessler's checking in St. Louis and Innsbruck. Jim Schuessler, good gosh. Holy cow, good to see you, man. I got another friend named Jim Schuessler from Whitesboro, Texas. Hey, your compadres were here for a couple of days. Chris Chavetta gave an outstanding talk about how to work with HOAs and building fishing programs. That's pretty cool. Craig McBride, I know he's around here somewhere. He might be looking over our shoulders. He's here. He just checked in. Let's go and let's talk a little bit about Quality Lakes. And how long have you been in it?
I've been full-time in our business since 11 years.
11 years.
Yeah.
But before that, you worked for the DNR as a fisheries biologist for
15 years.
So you've got 26 years under your belt from 2 different angles of it.
Yes.
What do you see that's the biggest difference between working in an agency and working as a business owner?
Whew, that's a loaded question.
You want me to rephrase it?
Well, I think the biggest difference is being in the private industry is it's much more focused. on, number one, what I really like to do. But when you're compared to an agency situation, you're hit every day with 15 different hot topics. And it's tough when you had, like when I was with DNR, we had, I think, 5 different major program areas that I was over. And ponds was not one of them. You know, we got out of the pond business like a lot of states did. But that's probably it. Now, you know, since it's our company, we can focus on what we really want to focus on.
Which is helping clients get what they need to help them achieve their goals.
Absolutely. And we get to work on some beautiful properties, and I love small impoundments. I've done a lot of work on large reservoirs, large hydro reservoirs, and man, you just can't get your arms around them. You know, it's
You
tough.
can't do anything about it.
It's tough, but small impoundments are great.
Yeah, but a 5 or 6 acre lake, you can change that in one day, can't you?
Absolutely.
To make it better. Bill Russell, any plans for a bluegill app?
Well, I'm glad you asked, Bill, because it would take us a very little time to add another species to the app. So if we have some interest and demand to add bluegill, you know, I see potentially smallmouth bass being added, maybe some other fish, sport fish, regional sport fish across the country. Be very easy to add that.
There you go. There's your answer. So if there's a demand, he will do it. So tell your buddies out there, get everybody to download that app. It's going to be pretty dadgum cool. So when you take on it, how does a client find you? And when you take them on, kind of what's your step-by-step process to kind of integrate, get in there, and do what they need to do?
Great question. Most of our business is from word of mouth.
Yep. Okay.
You know, we don't advertise. We've got a website.
Hey, Craig McBride's about to walk right behind us. There he is, right there. There he goes. Oh my gosh, he's going to do one of those.
No.
That's pretty funny. Okay. All right.
But anyway, we don't do any advertising. You know, we've got a website like everybody, Facebook page. Have not cranked up a YouTube page, but that's what we do. We probably approach it just like you do.
Yep.
You know, when we meet someone new or get a call, we try to gather as much information as we can about that pond.
You was dared to do that. Craig McBride was dared to do what he did right there in the background, and you did it well. You really did it well. Good job.
Keep on watching out here.
Yeah, okay, good. All right.
See you.
All right. And so so somebody tells somebody and they call you. So you sit down with them and kind of what's your process?
Well, as you know, there's 2 things we need to know. One is what is their current situation?
Yep.
And then 2, where do they want to go? As you say, what's the it? I mean, what do you want it to
Bam.
be?
Yep.
What do you want your end goal to be with this body of water? And then continue to ask that for the next 3 months.
Oh yeah. Yeah, because sometimes they just don't know.
Sometimes it's hard to explain what you want.
Yes.
You know, I've had clients say, well, I want trophy bass.
Yes.
I want to catch trophy bass.
What does that mean? What's a trophy bass to you? What's a trophy bass to you? What's a trophy bass to you?
Well, if you're you've been fishing all your life and you don't mind spending 3 hours to catch 1 fish or 2 fish,
Yep.
you're probably a trophy bass fisherman.
Or if your personal best is 4 pounds?
Yeah, probably not. Yeah, so, but finding out what their end goal is. And then, you know, at that time as biologists, we start sifting through all the information that they've given us, habitat, all those parameters.
Okay, so you get history.
What
Okay.
they stocked. You look at the environmental habitat, all the environmental factors.
Which is water quality. You said. What else?
Water quality, underwater habitat,
Okay.
average depth, we call it the morphology of
Okay.
the pond.
Yeah.
Depth, slopes.
Okay.
One of the big things, like in our area, where a lot of our clients are in a coastal plain, very sandy soils,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of turnover. We don't have a long retention time, so that pond volume turns over quickly.
Because it's seeping through the sands from the water table.
It seeps through. We
Okay.
get big rains, flushes out.
Got it. Okay,
So,
got it.
How frequently does that happen? Well, that affects your fertility.
Yes.
You know, and your primary productivity, the base of the food chain. So, and then of course stocking history.
Okay.
What have you got in here?
Yep.
Well, I don't know.
How long has it been here? I don't know. I didn't keep a receipt.
I don't know.
Okay.
4 or 5 years. How many have you harvested None. You know,
That's pretty normal.
that's pretty normal. A lot of people like to harvest bluegill,
Mm-hmm.
but that's pretty common.
In your part of the country.
Yeah.
Yep.
So we sift through all those variables,
Okay.
and we like to take an electrofishing survey. It's really hard to really make any prescriptions without that.
Because you got to figure out the status of that day.
And I will say, you know, throughout the app documentation and on the app website, you'll see in there quite often, we recommend working with a lake management company because they're going to help you prescribe a specific harvest plan based on relative weight. And you got to sample your lake and know what you got.
And you know what? I want to drive that point home. And of course, we both have an agenda because we're in the lake management business. But if you've got some goals and you don't know what your starting point is, it's really hard to make a game plan. And every day that you miss is a day that can't be made up. So Wade's right on the money. So in other words, figure out the goals, then analyze the lake. So he's analyzing the water chemistry, trying to figure out how the lake's laid out. Does it have any good habitat? What have you stocked in there? And then take the electrofishing boat in there and find out the status of your food chains, find out the status of your largemouth bass, and then come up with a game plan. You know, and when that happens, then you're going to be on point to get somewhere much, much more quickly. We got a few things coming in here. Billy Wolf's checking in. Jacob West is asking if, looks like he's asking bluegill, catfish, hybrid striped bass. If there's a demand for those in your app, you'll do that.
Got to have some demand.
But you got to have somebody willing to pay the price so you can pay the developer.
That's right.
You know, so when he starts, if you'll communicate with him and say, hey, I'd like that, and then you'll actually use it, then he's going to be more interested in doing that, right?
Yeah, and in your question about entering multiple ponds, there's a screen when you log in. You type in the name of whatever water you're fishing, and it creates a menu for you. So next time you come back, you just click on the lake that you're fishing.
There you go.
So,
Billy Wolf checking in. Joanne Pelafont, please repeat the info about the app. Okay, you can rewind and watch this again, but we're going to do it real quick. What's the name of the app?
the name of the app is Smartfish.
How do you get it?
Google Play right now, App Store, the Apple within by March 1st.
Okay, so you can download it right now on an Android, but it's just sometime between now and March 1st, it'll be available in an Apple version. So that's the name of it, Smartfish. Download it, when you're fishing, take your phone with you, put it in your pocket. Lengths and weights of bass. You plug them in, you get an immediate relative weight. You can make an immediate decision as to whether or not you should take that fish out or throw it back. So that's kind of the way it goes there. Let's see here. Frank James, is there any difference between electrofishing for... Okay. Is there any difference between electrofishing for survey purposes and electrofishing to remove excess?
If we're doing a survey, we're doing a standard time segment when we're actually shocking, like 30 minutes of actual pedal time. And we're picking up everything. I want to see everything that pops up because we're trying to get a handle on prey base, size distribution, species. If we're harvesting just to remove a certain segment of the bass population, that's all we're after. So
Okay.
we pick them up, but we do weigh and measure them.
So I guess, Frank, maybe the question you're asking, is there any difference between electrofishing for survey purposes and electrofishing to remove excess? Yeah, there's a difference because when you're removing or when you're electrofishing to harvest, there's fish you won't even pick up. You'll leave them in the water, you know, and when you're surveying, you're going to collect enough fish to capture a statistically significant sample that we can make good decisions from. So we're collecting data there. Jacob West, hashtag Smartfish. There you go. There's your first hashtag.
Thanks, Jacob.
And John Henry just got it. Oh boy, we got a downloader
There
tonight.
we go. Thanks,
Woohoo.
John.
All
Try
right,
it
that's
out.
sweet. So now one of the things at this conference that's been fascinating to me, summit. Greg Grimes has been real picky about that word,
He's been
summit.
touchy about that.
He kind of has. One of the big take-home points I've had is the rapid pace that the pond management industry is beginning to grow. I mean, there's some science coming along now, especially studying water quality, algae blooms, your app coming up. Was talking to a guy who thinks he's working with somebody who thinks they have selectively genetically superior bass that can grow faster, get bigger, which I don't know if that's true or not. I'm gonna listen to him. I've never seen that,
Check
you
it
know,
out.
but there's some things that are coming that, guys like you and I, we've known intuitively, and now they're getting proven up. Is that a fair statement?
That's a very fair statement. Especially talking about algae blooms. How many years have we fertilized ponds?
Forever.
And
1980.
we have nice green water, and we're thinking things are going good. And I personally have some managed bass lakes where we've had some challenges, and we can't figure out what's going on. Well, it's cyanobacteria. We've added phosphorus over the years, and it's causing the undesirables to overtake the desirable green algae, phytoplankton, diatoms. And so now we're figuring out how to deal with that.
Okay.
How to treat that. And,
Yes, that's right.
So unfortunately, it's going to cost a little more to take your lake to the next level if you've got this situation. But your lake's not going to go to the next level if you don't apply these new products and principles to take care of the problem.
Happy water. Got to have happy water. If you don't have happy water, nothing else makes any difference. John Henry just says, I'm having an issue on Google Play. This is a good segue into how do people get in touch with you, Wade? If he wants to talk to you about your app, what's the best way to get in touch?
Well, you can email me at wade@smartfishapp.com or info@smartfishapp.com. That's the easiest way to reach me. You want my phone number, it's 843-812-6844. That's my direct line.
Tell them one more time.
843-812-6844. And if I don't call you right back, be patient, please.
Yeah, he's at a summit right now. So and there's blues on the street behind us tonight. So he may not call you back tonight, but he will be in touch with you, John. So he'll let you know. Email him and let him know what's going on, because just with every launch of everything, you're going to have a few hiccups and a few little bumps you got to jump over. But I know Wade well enough. He's going to, whatever the hiccups are, it might be with your phone, it might be with the app, it might be something else, but he's got people that can help figure that out. Jim Schuessler saying, what is the best way to remove 50 years of silt and sludge from a small pond?
Call Mike Otto.
Yep, I see Mike Otto right out there at the bar.
There he
He's
is.
waving at us. So, really, Jim, the best answer to that is to quantify how much sludge and silt you've got. It may be on a small pond. It's probably smart just to drain it and start over. And drain the water out, get the water off of it, and see if you can just push that dirt out and get rid of it. All right, so let's see. John Henry says, we will work with it first. Okay, yeah, sure. And just communicate. Let Wade know. I mean, he's real personal. He's going to be reactive to you. Well, Wade, it's 7:23 already. Holy cow, this hour is about to fly by. So I'm so glad that you've come and hung out today. This has been good. You got any closing comments? Anybody you want to pat on the back? You want to talk a little bit about any part of your business, or just kind of reflect and move forward, or what do you want? What's on your mind?
Well, I have to thank my family, because they've been very patient with me the last few months, because my goal was to get this app out, and so they haven't seen a lot of me. So thank you guys. Love y'all. Otherwise, I think I hope folks are open to talking about harvest the way we have been.
Yes.
And if you're going to have something that's of value, it usually takes a little more work, a little more effort. And when you're fishing, take that time to measure and weigh.
That's real important.
It's incredibly important when you think about your overall investment in your body of water and what you've got in it and what you've spent in it. It just takes a few more minutes. And the other plug I would say is take your kids fishing.
I love
Take
that.
your grandkids fishing. They love to harvest fish. And we used to do focus group studies when I was with DNR, and there's an age group there, from 4 to 10, 4 to 12, that if you take them fishing and let them keep fish, it's not a bad thing. It's okay. It's okay to take fish home. It will imprint on them, and they will likely be anglers forever.
And
So
see,
do that.
and it's up to us to bring that next generation
That's right.
along.
Exactly.
You bet. That's good stuff. Steve Lewis just checked in. Steve is a fisheries biologist from the state of Arkansas. He grows Florida bass
All right.
in a
Hey,
hatchery in
Steve.
Hot Springs. Jacob West, thank you for your innovative contribution to this growing industry.
Hey, Jacob.
Here. That's
All right.
good stuff. That's good stuff. All right, folks, thanks for joining us tonight. We're going to go ahead and shut her down, call it a day, and we're going to go listen to some blues music, maybe a little barbecue down here in downtown Memphis, Tennessee. You know the deal. Hashtag Pond Boss Magazine. Click like and share this to your feed, to your timeline. So, $35 a year, folks. That's all it costs for a subscription to Pond Boss Magazine with all the knowledge you're ever going to need. We deeply appreciate you. Glad you joined us. See you next Wednesday. I don't know where I'm going to be other than I'll be joining you guys. Adios.
Good night.